The spirit.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frank Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Bryan Gilmore.
What's up, Movie Trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to episode 71 of the Schmoedown Rundown, the official after show for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. I will be your host for this evening. I am Brad Gilmore. I'm joined by my man who's enjoying a tropical climate right now in the great city, Shy City, Chicago, Illinois. Frank Janisch, what's going on, man?
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks out here. So not tropical at all. Thank you though for. Yeah.
It's a mental thing, Frank. You got to mentally be there. You got to think about it. And also joining us on the show, a very special guest from Real Film Chatter. Make some noise for my guy, Patrick PJ Campbell. What's going on, Patrick?
Hey, guys. Thank you for having me on here. I know it's been a long time coming. Frank has been asking me. And, Frank, it's a little bit more tropical here. You might actually think about coming out to California instead of staying back there in Chicago, because every time you come out, we're really happy to see you, and then you leave.
Yeah, I'm only there for like literally 12 hours, and then I'm gone. So I'm going to try and stick around for at least 13 next time.
13. Set a goal, Frank.
Lucky
it's
number
a high
13.
Bar.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, hey, Patrick, we're excited to have you on the show. A lot to talk about in the world of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. I guess let's start off with a little bit of news here. I want to plug real quick at the top of the show the Let's Get Ready to Schmoedown.blog. It's where we've been getting a lot of our news lately, but we're going to keep it light here because there's so much to talk about in these matches. These were like all-time classics this week here for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. Let's get to a serious issue, though, first off top. Somebody who obviously I've talked about on this show a lot. I call him my guy, someone I really enjoy. I've gotten now to meet a few times. We bond over wrestling and Schmoedown. Jay Washington has had a couple of issues this past week, a couple of health scares. Patrick, I know that you were there with him. You got to see Jay. Can you give us any kind of update on Jay Washington?
Yeah, so just so everyone knows, over the last couple of weeks, Jay's been having some problems with his throat. So he finally went in, and he actually had surgery this week on his throat. He's getting spirits now. His spirits are up. I spent the night with him last night. Mark Ellis and I went over to see him, and he's in a better place right now. It's going to be a little while. I mean, anything like this it sucks when you get to a point where suddenly out of nowhere you have to have surgery and you need things, something's wrong. But all things considered, we're very happy to report that he is much happier. He's excited to actually, be getting better. And he wanted to let the Schmoedown fans know he loves all of you and he appreciates you guys because he saw the outpouring that you were giving him on Facebook, and that pushed him a lot and that helped a lot. So thank you guys.
Hey, there's two things that you can do, Jay Washington. That's get better, man, and stay positive. And we love you, Jay. Can't wait to see you back here on the Schmoedown and all that. Frank, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I've gotten to meet Jay a few times now, and every time I've talked to him, he's just been nothing but nice. And, when I heard about the news, I was sincerely worried for him. But I'm glad he's getting through this, and it sounds like he's going to make a full recovery, and he'll be back to the Jay that we know and love. And I can't wait to hear him back and see him back on the Schmoedown as soon as possible.
Yeah,
I have
thoughts
to say,
and prayers with Jay Washington. Go ahead, Patrick.
I was going to say he's back to his old antics already, even though he's confined to a hospital bed. He was giving lots of side-eye and drama and all the things that you expect from Jay without his voice over the whole night last night. It was incredible. So, he's back up to his old tricks already.
Well, I mean, the guy is just such a ball of energy and personality. I mean, it's he every time I've met him, I mean, the first time I met Jay Washington, we talked for probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours straight, no interruptions, in the back room of a bowling alley. So I know if he can keep me entertained there, he can keep people anywhere he's at entertained. So get well soon, Jay Washington. We love you. Christian Harloff, also major announcement just here yesterday. A live movie trivia Schmoedown match will be coming to Los Angeles, California on March the 15th, I believe. And there's already some big names announced. We know that the Outlaw is going to be involved. Patrick, let me throw it to you first. You're a California resident. You excited about this announcement? And what do you think about a live movie trivia Schmoedown?
You're goddamn right. I'm excited. I cannot wait to be there. I'm telling my work I can't be there March 15th. I'm going to be front row center watching Roca and JTE, who have a little bit of a history, in a live environment with fans. This is really exciting because we've only really seen it with the Star Wars Celebration and stuff, but to finally take this on the road in a way like this, to have real matches that are actually going to add to the story, add to what we know, this is great. And I love that Christian's able to do this, and this is going to be a really cool experiment. I'm looking forward to it.
I think it's going to be amazing. JTE, Frank, John Roca. We're going to get into a little bit of their story here in a little while, but what do you think about a live movie trivia Schmoedown?
Yeah, I love this idea. It's been a long time coming. I know it's something that Christian's been talking about and trying to get done for a while. And they were just trying to figure out how to do it best. And it started, like what Patrick said, the Star Wars Celebration match, which if you were there like me, that atmosphere, there's about 500, maybe 600 people in that room. They were turning away people to get into the room, who were trying to get into the room. That atmosphere was unreal. And surprisingly, you would hear people murmur little answers here and there, but nothing audible. So I think, if you were worried about people in the audience shouting out answers, I think if you were one of those people, better watch out if that's you, because the surrounding audience members will probably shame you. But other than that,
and just hope Roca didn't hear.
Oh God, yeah, especially
he'll lay the smacketh down with JTE up there,
and that's what I want to talk about is JTE and Roca. Now JTE keeps saying he's never lost to Roca in the Schmoedown. He's played him 3 times, box office breakdown once, and twice as the Patriots. Now he's going to have a singles head-to-head match, and it's in a live environment. I cannot wait to see the antics, the theatrics, everything that's going to happen in a live setting. I mean, these two are just performers, and they're going to feed off that energy, and it's going to be a sight to behold. I'm going to make every effort I can to be out there for this one.
Yeah, this is something, Frank, that me and you probably need to attend. This is incredible. I think it's taking place during spring break, so we might be able to make something happen. # Rundown Boys with a Z in full effect, and we'll be running wild on everybody. And what you gonna do, Frank Janisch? What you gonna do? So that's gonna be an incredible thing, and hopefully this will be only the start. They start in Los Angeles, where they're based. Maybe they come to Chicago, Illinois. Maybe they come to Houston, Texas. Maybe they come over to there in Pennsylvania, brother, somewhere on the East Coast. I mean, you never know what's going to happen, and that's what's cool about the Movie Trivia Schmoedown and the Patreon, which, by the way, has been kicking ass and taking names. Patreon, last I checked, I don't know what it is right now, Frank, but last I checked, it was like, 1,400, I think, patrons?
At least
1,400. And that number, after I said it, it just went up to 1,500 and then up to 1,600. That's the power of the Schmoedown Rundown. It continues to increase. But honestly, if you haven't contributed to the Patreon, go on Patreon, find the Movie Trivia Schmoedown page. Even if it's $1, everything helps out. It helps not only the show that you love, it helps this show that you also love out. So go over there right now. Do it now. I do it for you. Patrick Campbell, what do you think about the Patreon?
The Patreon is one of the greatest things that we're getting with the Schmoedown right now, because this is really giving Christian full creative control in a way that he wants. And I know that he's so passionate about this, you guys. You don't see sometimes some of the stuff that we've actually seen with Christian and the way he cares about this so much. He's a crazy person, the best crazy person I've ever met. Like, the things that are going through his head at all times. And every fan that loves this should want to support this, because we keep this going as much as Christian does. And there's a give and take with that. And they really want to push this to new heights. And that, again, the touring thing, like, look at this. They're doing a JTE Roca title card match live. That's the kind of things that we can do here. I know it's a little scary for people to, put down monthly contributions, and you don't have to put even more than $1 if you don't want to. But even $1 is going to go a long way. And I mean that. Like, we really, really want to see the show continue. We really want to see it get to new heights. And that is a big part of it. And I think that it's really cool that Christian's actually asking the fans to be a part of it this way. I mean, there's some really cool stuff in those pledges. You know, I think is the $60 tier actually lets someone pick a new part for the wheel to pick any new category.
Yeah.
That's great. So, I mean, think of the things that you get to be a part of with this.
It is incredible. So if you haven't gone over there, do it right now. And Patrick, I guess one more thing before we get into the card and the matches that were in the week. Tell me a little bit about your background with the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. How did you find it? How did you get involved? I've heard from people you are the fan who's attended the most matches at the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. That's the word on the street. That's the lowdown about PJ. Tell us a little bit. How'd you get involved in all that?
So I've been watching for a while. Obviously, I was a big fan of Schmoes, and a couple of years ago, I've been living in Southern California for a while, but some stuff happened with my family. We ended up moving back to Sacramento, and like our bright spot while we were there dealing with the stuff that had been going on with my family was the Schmoedown came back, like right after we had moved. And so for that first year, just watching the Schmoedown kind of really evolve at Collider and come back was really cool. So when I moved back, I actually ran into Christian and Roca at a press screening for the new Triple X. Return of Xander Cage.
What a phenomenal
and so we were
film,
talking
by the way.
a little. Hey, that movie is way more fun than it deserves to be, even though it's terrible. So, regardless, we met in passing.
Phenomenal
and
film.
then I was doing it. Phenomenal. I met Josh McCouga, who was doing after shows at the Stream TV for a show on WGN called The Outsiders. And McCouga and I started talking in passing because I was doing after shows there for Flash and Arrow. And I have a corgi. His name is Kirk. And Kirk took a liking to McCouga. And eventually McCouga was like, hey, you should come over to Collider because of my dog. And I was like, that's great. And so I went over, and it just happened to be the day before the free-for-all.
Oh, wow. Great timing.
Yeah, so I was leaving that night, and Christian said, hey, so you're going to come back tomorrow, right? Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I called out of my job that day so I could go to the free-for-all. And ever since then, I just kept coming back, and I love being a part of it. Even if it's sitting behind the scenes, yelling and having a really good time, like I've met the greatest people being a part of this. And it's funny because, you know, some of them I'd already met in passing, writing reviews and doing the things that I do in the industry. And so to really get to sit down, and we have a really tight-knit group of people that I love really talking with and talking about movies with. And this Movie Trivia Schmoedown means so much to me for so many reasons, but that's a big part of it. And so, I mean, look at where we are now. I get to hang out with you guys. We're talking the Movie Trivia Schmoedown this week, and if it wasn't for that, I don't even know. I mean, Frank is sleeping on my couch every other month. It's freaking exciting. I love this.
That's not an exaggeration. It's not.
It's not an exaggeration. But you know what?
Actually, I think it was like 2 weeks in a row. Actually, is what it was.
It really was.
You got real comfy there, Frank. You got a little too comfortable. You know, you can't do that. But that's awesome to hear, Patrick. You know, your passion definitely comes through for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. You know, we got to meet. Let's start there. All three of us were in the same room at the same time. We got to meet. Frank, you and I had done this show, I guess, since like November or December?
Yeah, we've done about 10 or 12 episodes, you know, so.
Something like that.
Yeah.
However many. But we never got to meet, and then it just so happened fortuitously I was going to be in California. My girlfriend, Farrah, celebrating our anniversary. You said, I said, hey, man, Christian just invited me to the tapings for the first week of matches. You're like, I'm flying down. And hashtag Rundown Boys with a Z were in full effect. We got to meet Patrick. We got to meet there as well. And it is cool. It's such a cool environment. It's such a cool experience. These are the two matches that I was super excited about, and we're going to get into them. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, match number one, the first team match of the season, saw Team Top 10 versus Team Top That. We saw Matt Nost, John Roca, and then Eric Goldman. I mean, dude, can you just tell me, when you saw Eric Goldman, Jim Vejvoda, they were there. They were in full effect. It was about to go down. I saw Roca earlier in the day, and I said, hey, man, how you doing? Are you ready for this, man? You ready? He goes, you know, I'm not going to say what he said. You know, I'm not going to say what he said because there's a family show. But he didn't seem 100% You know, he didn't seem like the outlaw yet. I think he had to psych himself up, and then he got himself there. But let's talk about this match. Let's start with the promos. Frank, throw it to you. You saw John. You saw Top 10. You saw Top That. What was going through your mind?
I think when you look at the promos for Top That, very foreshadowing of how this match would go, given their lack of knowledge in terms of how Top 10 operates. And Top 10's coming into this after a big win, TKOing Team Action at Spectacular. You know, they were recognizing the talent that Top That possesses and that it's going to be a tough match. You know, this is for a number one contender spot. And Top That, you know, Jim Vejvoda, this guy just has some bravado about him. Just, you know, ask me the damn question already so we can get this thing moving. Eric Goldman's like, yeah, he's just along for the ride, but he's also very,
man. Yeah.
yeah, but he's also very knowledgeable as well, especially when you get into that comic book category for him, as we've seen in the past he's done. These promos were very interesting and very telling in terms of the type of approach both these teams were taking, and I think we saw that clearly in the match.
Yeah, these promos were interesting. You know, I definitely liked, but one thing that actually stuck out to me is Top 10 seemed to, I don't know, they seem to be looking past Top That a little bit. They talked a lot about the Patriots. They were real focused on the Patriots. And then Top That comes over here, and they're like, John Schmoka? Is that his name? Mocha, Schmoka, whatever. And they were kind of playing into the fact that, you know, they don't watch the show that often. Maybe if ever. They don't watch. And they're playing into that, and it was funny. But you're right. Vejvoda's got something. He's got something like, look, man, man behind the camera, shut up already. All right? Shut your mouth. I'm trying to win a match here. Patrick Campbell, I'm sorry. What did you think?
Man, I think you guys nailed it with everything about watching this pre the match. It ended up being very kind of obvious what would go down later, because I love Top That. I've liked them since IGN, but man, maybe not watching the show, not always paying attention, kind of came up on them. And at the same time, it was exciting to see Top 10 who, yeah, coming off that TKO, some people were worried that were they getting a little long in tooth? Where is it going to go? And I'm a big Top 10 fan, and I was really pulling for them. But, you know, I was a little afraid that Guy's tackle might have taken Roca out of this, and, you know, it could have made him kind of crumble, but it didn't. And that was what was awesome. And to watch the back and forth between them. But Jim, man, that guy has a passion for movies, and he just wanted to get into the match. And that's exciting, because for someone that is still, what is it, they've been in 3 matches now, and you see this passion for everything that he loves, and I want to see more of that. And so we'll talk about that a little more in the post match too, but man, it's really exciting, and I love these guys.
You know, Frank, it would be interesting. I know you don't have your stats right there ready to go, but I'm wondering, statistically speaking, going into this match, who had the advantage?
Well, coming into this match, career-wise, Top 10 was answering 72% of their questions. Top That was answering 76% of their questions. So a slight edge goes to Top That. And when you specifically look at last season, Top 10 really kind of took a dive. They were barely getting close to 70% of their questions. So Top That had all the things going for them, but they never played a team like Top 10, and they admitted that. They knew that. They admitted that this is probably the best team they've seen so far, and it was true, because Top 10 they are former champs. They've been in the hunt for just about as long as anyone. So Top That did have a statistical edge, but I think Top 10 had a game edge. They knew how to play the game. They had a strategy going into it, and not just worried about what's the question. They were looking a little further down the road, while I think Top That was just like, give me the question and we'll move on from there. Really didn't have that much foresight.
You know, that's an interesting point. I think that's a really good way to explain it. You know, Top 10 had obviously been through the wars. They've been the champs. They know what it takes to get to the top of the mountain. They know what it feels like going all the way to the bottom and working yourself back up. And I think that gives them more of an edge going into it, although everyone was afraid, man. Top That, which by the way, I'm gonna mess up their names 80 times in this top 10, top that. So don't kill me in the comments. But top that was the kind of the team that everyone was watching out for, right? I mean, you would have to think going into season 5 of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, they were the odds-on favorite to go maybe get the championships in their first attempt. You know what I mean? So right. I was really, we were all in the room. I felt that the room wanted top 10, but they thought top that. Wouldn't you say, Patrick?
Yeah, I think that's actually fair because you could feel the emotion as we were all in there. And again, you guys are kind of saying top 10 is clearly thinking ahead. They've done this thing with the Patriots, and they have a vendetta. The Patriots have a target on their back. Like, Rocha wants to take them out again. And he wants that belt back.
Right.
But I think that the thing
Whoever
is,
has
you
it,
look at it, right. But when it comes to top that, looking at them and maybe the fact that they weren't thinking of the foresight of, is this, this was a contenders match. This was to try to get those belts. And I think that maybe because they were just so calm and relaxed and they just wanted to do the trivia, and maybe that's why everyone was like, maybe they'll take it because they seemed so calm. They seemed like it wasn't a care in the world. And I thought that was very interesting because, you can see sometimes when you're watching the matches if a competitor might accidentally get into their head or not. And it was clear that top that wasn't there at all. They were ready to play. Yeah. Whereas top 10, you could worry about, what was going on. Again, coming off that TKO, we don't know what was going to come out of with Rocha. That tackle could have taken him to his core, but it didn't. And that's what's so great.
It could have. But let's get to it. The entrances, when you talk about John Rocha, Matt knows come out. John Rocha's old school, right? You hear the champ is here. The champ is, I'm knocking stuff off my desk. The champ is here. He comes out with the V for Vendetta mask. And like you said, he had a vendetta. He wants those Patriots, and he kept the mask on for almost the entirety of the match, or actually, it was the entirety of the match.
The main takeaway was that Rocha, once he sat at the desk, he kept the mask on, and I was like, here we go. He's trying to get to another level. He's trying to go, Schmoedown Super Saiyan, and he's getting that energy up, and he's getting focused. So that was the main takeaway. Top that. All right, sit down. Give me the questions. That's their MO.
But some guys, to go back to pro wrestling, some guys have the over-the-top, extravagant entrance, like The Undertaker. He walks real slow. He's got the fire going. But then there's the guys like there's a guy named Hacksaw Jim Duggan back in the day. He literally walked to the ring, no music. He just walked to the ring. And that's kind of what top, and he's like, I'm looking for somebody's ass to kick. And that's what kind of topped that was like, I don't care. You can play music. You can't play music. I'm just going to sit at my seat and get ready. And that's kind of the vibe I got. Patrick, anything you want to add on the entrances before we get into the match?
No, I think you guys completely actually nailed it. And just seeing the way that top 10 came out, they were ready to just move to the next level. And I think it showed, especially with Rocha and Nos coming out, talking to the fans, really just playing with everyone, making sure that they knew they were there for them, but they're also there for themselves. Rocha keeping that V mask on was a big step, knowing that that's where he was trying to get.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. Round number 1 ends 18-13. Top 10 on top. A perfect round by a team. Incredible. Frank, throw it to you first. Do you have any stats that you have already? That's never happened before, right? Has that ever happened before?
This is the first time two teammates in the same match have gotten a perfect first round. DC Movie News, Adam Gertler, and Mike Kalinowski, they've had perfect rounds in teams, but never at the same time. This was the first time a pair of teammates did it in the same match, so they made history there. They got the full max 18 points they could possibly get in the first round. And look, top that, they're only down 5 points. They scored 13 points. That's no, that's not a bad number. That's a really good, solid number. That's above average. But when you go up against perfect, it's kind of hard to combat that. And that 5 points is a huge difference. And it was going to be interesting when I was watching how that would transfer over into the second round. But look, I want to talk about some of these answers, these questions that these teams got, because I think they were pretty fairly, as Schmoedown standards go, whether you knew the answers or not. I think Schmoedown standards wise, these were fairly easy questions. I mean, we're asking for main character or directors. I'm sorry, directors, lead actors, major characters. It got a little bit later. The later round got a little more away from, it was Robert Redford, Martin Short, Hugh Grant, George Clooney. These are kind of surface level answers. So I think that really played into Nost, because his knowledge, I think for him, he can't go that deep. He knows a lot of the surface level stuff. So I think it really benefited Nost the most, not to rhyme here, in the way these questions came out in the first round. So I top that should have known everything as well. I think we could have saw double first. I mean, Luca Brasi. I mean, do we want to get into that one? I mean, that's.
Oh man, yeah.
That was a big. I couldn't believe that Jim didn't get that. That surprised me.
I mean,
to be
that
honest, and then
that's a huge starting point in the round.
Yeah. And then Rocha playing with people's hearts with the Independence Day question too, because for a second he played it like he didn't know what the answer was with the virus. So I was like, oh my God, like of all things, because we know Rocha loves Independence Day. I was a little surprised by that, but he managed to nail it. On your Nost point, I think it's interesting too, though. Ever since they came back with Top 10 Show, I think Matt's actually starting to get deeper in again, like we used to see. And I think that played a big part in why he's playing so well, because in a lot of ways, Matt was an unsung hero for this whole match.
Absolutely. And we'll get into it in later rounds. Matt Nost definitely came off swinging. And I think that's the dichotomy of Team Top 10, though. I think, Frank, you alluded to it. Nost with you could say surface level. I think that kind of, undermines the ability a little bit. I think here's the thing with Matt Nost. He seems to know a lot about, stars, directors, maybe titles, kind of like the stuff, but he knows it about a lot of different movies, like a lot. He's got a nice plethora of films that he can recall off the top of his head. I think John Rocha has the same ability, but to a lesser extent, but where he goes is the very deep. When you get into genre-based films, like we'll see here in round two, he has a very deep wealth of knowledge when it comes to certain categories, certain genres that Matt Nost does not have. And I think that's why they've worked so well together. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think you're hitting something there where Rocha, he has a few categories that are like his specialties. Nost, I don't know if he really has a specialty. He's
a jack of all trades.
Right. He knows he knows a little about a lot.
Yeah.
And so he covers the spectrum that way. Whereas Rocha, he's very good across the board, but like biopics, dramas. Like he's really good in those specific areas, westerns as well. So yeah, I think you're right on that point.
Yeah. So this first round though, let's talk about top that missing a couple ones that seem to have been like on the tip of everybody's tongue. But to go back to Vejvoda, it could be one of those things to where, it's like, this 10 times out of 10. You ask me. I know it. Then the lights turn on. You're sitting there in the game. The clock's running. You're like, I can't remember it.
Here's what didn't happen. They didn't ask to repeat the question. Why not?
That's a great point. You have 3 JTE rules, and correct me if I'm wrong. Did they?
They never used
any. They didn't use one. And that could be another thing, which is going to be a storyline here, is that Team Top That are not frequent watchers of the game. They didn't know all the rules and didn't know how to use them to the best of their ability, Patrick.
No, I think you're completely right. And I think this really, again, came into play here. It comes into play in round 2, which we're going to talk about as well. And I really think that this is actually going to push Top That to maybe start actually going back, rewatching their matches, starting to get to know their opponents, especially if Jim is really thinking about jumping into the singles league, because he's going to have to know. I mean, this is the kind of thing that you need to be ready for, because I see Jim as a guy who can run to the top of this league. He is that guy. He has that potential. But, man, there was some stuff during this match where I couldn't believe what they were doing. And, I mean, once we get into the next round, especially with the spin and spinner's choice.
This ain't bar trivia. I mean, come on.
Yeah, come on.
No, it's definitely not. And I agree with you about Vejvoda, about going straight to the top. He's got a real cushion quality about him. to where he's just kind of just a sharp tactician assassin is Jim Vejvoda. God damn it. I love him, but we're going to get into more of him for a second. Let's go into round two. Round two was a very interesting round. The round ends 28-23. Team top 10 still at the top, right? Let's talk about their spin, though. They spin, and they get that unfortunate opponent's choice. Now, being there, we were all there in the crowd. We all said, "Oh man, well,
Yep.
well, it was good. It was good for a minute.
Yeah.
This is the death now. This is where it all turns around." And Vejvoda and Goldman, they confer with each other. And I think, Frank, we were talking. I leaned over to you. I'm like, "What do you think they're gonna pick?" Like, and we're looking at the wheel. We're like, "Okay, yeah, not westerns, not biopics." And then all of a sudden, hell yeah, we picked biopics. And the whole crowd was like, "What the hell did you just do?" You know, I mean, we were freaking out. And, you know, that was what we call a Road Warrior pop circa 1988. I mean, the decibel levels in that studio were going off the charts when they picked biopics. Patrick, come on, man, give it to me.
Man, this was crazy because we were all sitting right by each other, and all of us couldn't believe, of all things that you're about to do, you basically gave top 10 their spinner's choice. I mean, if they had landed on spinner's choice, biopics or westerns would have been the thing. And here's what's crazy. Apparently, Rocha could hear them conferring, and the only other thing they were thinking about giving them was westerns. I was so beside myself.
Yeah, we were all shocked. Frank, take it away.
Even if you don't watch the show, the Schmoedown, all the time, you mean to tell me there hasn't been one time you didn't hear about Rocha being so expert in biopics? Not one time? You didn't hear that over the course of a year? Not one. I mean, so, and then I want to know how they felt. I really know how they really felt when they heard the crowd go, "What the hell are you doing?" Because they just thought, you know, as we heard, that it was strategy. I'm like, no. I've said this before about other people and teams, but
that was not strategy.
No. I've said this about other teams and players. It's one thing to have the knowledge. It's another thing to know how to play the game. You have to do both. You just can't have one without the other. And it's been kind of my criticism with Bibiani and other players. So it's to see this happen right here, and you give them biopics right after they've had a perfect first round, a max 18 points, and then you just say, "Hey, here you go."
Let me ask you this, though, Frank. If you were top that, you got a top 10 spinner's opponent's choice, I'm sorry. What category would you give top 10?
I was thinking, I think I was even talking with you. I think I was like, they might give him Pixar because Rocha. I mean, I don't know how they would have. I mean, here's not going to give them biopics and westerns. That just wasn't going to happen. So outside of that, anything but. I mean, so I don't really. What else was on the wheel? I don't remember. I don't recall.
I don't know if I would have given them Pixar just because coming off of they had just done a top 10 Pixar movie. Like, so if just paying attention to the stuff they're doing, I don't know if I would have touched that, but I believe coming of age was on the wheel, and coming of age can be really broad. I think I might have gone with that.
And they've never been asked a coming of age question in their team career or in their singles career individually. They've never, they've answered probably coming of age movies, but as a category, an actual picked category, in their singles, in their individual singles career and team career, they've never had to delve into that category. So it's an unknown for them, especially as a team.
Yeah, and that just seems to make the most sense, at least at that time, because if it's an unknown.
For the listeners, what category would they have given top 10 if you're top 10?
Tweet us at Schmoedown RD. What would have been your strategy if top 10 spun opponent's choice? What category would you have given them and to give yourself the best opportunity of winning? Because that's the game. That's how we play it, right? So that was but then Rocha, he goes full Rocha mode, right? I mean, he hits them all. They didn't miss a single question in round two. Not a single question in round two. There was all the makings of a perfect game. But here's the thing. They spun opponent's choice. They got biopics. That was a tremendous flaw. We can't pound that into the ground enough by Vejvoda and Goldman. But then Vejvoda and Goldman spin. Top That spins. And what do they get? I mean, what could they possibly get? You give John Roca a strength. So the Schmoedown gods said, hey, would you like comic book movies? You want to try that out, Patrick?
Man, and they did. They straight up handed it to him. And you know what, though? I'm glad, because it made for a really interesting match, because both teams got their strengths. It means that both them got to excel and really take this to the next level. I have to say, though, the Happy Hogan question really...
I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk about Happy Hogan.
Yeah, I think that they really should have probably actually, challenged that question, because the way it's worded, I could see where they were coming from. Were they looking for the full name? Were they just looking for Happy Hogan? What were they looking for? I could have seen that come into play, and I think that had they done it, again, it comes down to how do you know the game, and what if they had gotten a new question out of it? I mean, that would have not been the worst thing, because they took a hit on the points, and they could use the points, especially going into the third round. At one point, the game was tied.
They could have used that extra point. I mean, that was a big one. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, man, you could have used a challenge. But once again, I'm not trying to bury Top That at all, but that's just another novice mistake, a novice to the Schmoedown rules. Frank.
I have a huge, huge problem with the thought process here that Eric Goldman at least gave. He said, oh, well, his name in the comics is this. I'm sorry. We're not talking about the comics. It's based on the movies. So I know there's a lot of comic book fans that love the movies, but we're not talking about the comic books. And here's the thing: if you're gonna base your answer off the comic book movies or the comic books, not the movies, and you gave that answer, what was it, Harold? What's his full?
Harold Happy
Hogan, right? If you had said Harold Happy Hogan, and then they said, that's a wrong answer, which I don't think they would have. But had they said that, then you can challenge and say and fight your way and fight it that way to still get the 2 points. I think if that events I just laid out happened, I think they would have gave him the 2 points. But I don't like this excuse of, well, his name was, or this happened in the comics this way. I'm sorry, I can't use that as an answer, because it's not in the movie. It's not his name in the movie. It's not what they did in the movie. So I've seen other players do this in Intergeekdom or in other matches, and I'm just like, well, yeah. I think even Kalinowski, I think, with the whole it's that whole mishap with the Joker question, right? Mm-hmm. He was basing it off of what happened in the comic books, not in the movie. And
I have to say, I don't think that had they said Harold Happy Hogan, they still would have said Happy Hogan.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they still would have gotten the points. So I mean, they even they went to multiple choice and then tried to go, no, we don't want it, but it was too late. They had already taken it.
Yeah.
I really just would have rolled the dice. I don't know why they did it.
And look, you just bring up something pretty important there, Patrick. The indecision between Eric and Jim. The indecision there of let's go for it, and Jim was like, no, let's go to multiple choice already. So there's a bit of a disconnect there in that moment that's now hampered their opportunity to go for a title, So there's been a plethora, not a plethora, but there's been a few mistakes here that you just can't do if you want to be champs in this league. Just can't do it.
Like we saw in the Super Bowl, it's just one or two plays can make an entire difference. One or two split decisions make an entire difference in the game and how it gets played out. And that definitely happened with Team Top That right here. And this is also another thing. It's like, look, they might be great friends. They might work together. They might love watching movies and talk about comic books together. But they haven't played in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown that much, right? When you play with somebody over 5-6 matches or you build that chemistry, you watch together and you study the game together, you know these things. You can pick up on it. That's what Matt Nost and John Roca have. Matt Nost knew as soon as biopics were given, I'm laying back, man. I'm not needed here. There's no reason for you to even confer with me. Do it. Do it now. I do it for you, right? And
that's the thing, Matt Nost and John Roca, to his credit as well, they know their place within their team. They know I can really lean on you for this category or for this question, and they know their strengths and weaknesses. And so they work really, really well together that way. And I think Jim and Eric still have to find that more or less going down the road, especially if you want to be champs. You're going to need that.
Well, let's go on to round number 3, the third and final round. Whoever comes out the victor in this match, remember, gets a shot at the Patriots. Top 10 won this opportunity when they beat Team Action at the Schmoedown Spectacular. It was a great round 3. It was phenomenal. Top that got holiday movies, Sly and Arnie, and Sandy Bullock films. And then team top 10 got rom-coms, crime movies, and then Pixar. Which question do you, Pat, stuck out in round number 3?
I have to say probably the 5-pointer on Pixar. And I think that, again, just knowing what Matt and John have been doing with their top 10 show, that played a big part in what they got to at the end. Because at that point, it was the only time in the game they were down at all was in round 3. And so when they got that question, and you could see in Matt's eyes, he knew, and they knew that that was their game. And they knew that they were about to go onto this just revenge mission against the Patriots. And I think that it was exciting, but at the same time, you got to give Top that. They got the questions they needed. They stuck in the game. They did get ahead of Top 10, which was the one time in the game, but they did do it. And that was a big deal. I mean, they took this match all the way down to the last question, and that is something that Top That has done every game that they've played, and that's really impressive.
The question that stuck out for me as well was that 5-pointer Pixar. As we've seen throughout the history of this league, players are not very good when it comes to the animated category, especially when you narrow it down to Pixar. As a 5-pointer, you never know what you're going to get. So for them to get that question in a very pressure-packed situation, great job on their part. The fact that Top That still was able to make this a match, given the mistakes that they made, and it says a lot about their team. It says a lot about their team and the promise that they could achieve if they just learn the game. And if they can do that, they're going to scare the bejesus out of everyone. And right now, I don't think other teams look at Top That as dangerous as they used to now. It's going to take one more match to find out if they're going to fix their mistakes. But I think teams won't be as scared. They'll know it's going to be a tough match, but I think teams will feel like they have an upper hand as long as they have a good strategy, because they're not sure about that. But I don't want to underscore that Top That getting 30 points here in this game. Only a handful of teams have scored 30-plus points, and only one other team has scored 30 and lost. They're the second team to score 30 points and lose. So you score 30 points, you're going to win. But when you go up against a team like Top 10, who had a hell of a day when they only missed one question, every little decision you make counts. And they knew that to a certain extent, Top That. But, what they didn't know hurt them in the end.
You make an interesting point about maybe a little bit of the teams maybe not be as intimidated by Top That anymore. It's kind of like when Scott Hall hit Goldberg with the cattle prod and the streak was over. A little bit of the mystique of Goldberg left. But the question that stuck out to me was that crime question, Bonnie and Clyde, posed to Matt Nost. The only question Top 10 got wrong was that Bonnie and Clyde question, and it didn't come out to hurt them in the end. They won the game 35-30. Top 10 gets their shot at the Patriots, the trilogy, which we just spoke about. Didn't we just speak about this last week?
We did.
We just spoke about the trilogy. And here it is. This is going to be like Daniel Cormier fighting John Jones one more time. Even though John Jones beat him twice, it doesn't matter if there was illicit substances. I don't care. I said that word wrong, and I still don't care. It doesn't matter, because Top 10 gets another shot, and this is what I want to see. I've said it from my very first appearance on this show. John Roca is probably my favorite Schmoedown competitor, and he's a lot of people's favorite because, and Matt knows as well, I love Top 10 because Roca brings that passion. He brings that energy, and when his back's to the wall with his teammate there with him, his teammate, and I'm saying this because Matt Nost got the only question wrong. He played phenomenally, but I'm just saying.
Luke Perry, round 2. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. But but John Rocha is, he's definitely, and I don't think it's a bad thing to say, John Rocha's the blood that runs through Team Top 10, right? I mean, he is the core of the team, and to see him and Matt Nose play the best they've played in a very long time, even better than that team action match, because honestly, that team action match after round 1, you saw where this was going.
Yeah.
This one was like, man, it could change on a dime, especially when you get comic book movies. So John Rocha, Matt Nose, top 10, a big congrats. Patrick, anything you want to say about the closing of this match, round number 3?
Man, I'm just happy to see that top 10 got it. I'm much like you. Rocha has been my favorite player in the league for a long time. I mean, the passion that he has really shows, and I think that's why when he loses, it like you can feel the hit. But at the same time, look when he won. When he won the belt the first time, that reaction was genuine. When he took down Dan Murrell, and then you see them, here they are. And now here's their chance to get those belts back. It may not be the singles title for Rocha, but at least it's the chance to really take on the Patriots again. And if I'm not getting Mance Rocha 3, at least I'm getting top 10 Patriots 3. Okay? I mean, give me that. So we got our trilogy. I'm really excited. I'm hoping for Return of the Jedi here, you guys. I really would love to see
take down
Rocha,
the Empire.
Yeah, take down the Empire. Come on, let's see it.
Let's see what happens. And shout out to your cat, by the way. What's your cat's name?
Oh, that
Made
would
an
be
appearance.
Vic. Yeah, he's just running around.
Vic, I like it. Frank, anything you want to add about the finale of this incredible, by the way, one of the greatest team matches of all time?
It's the most accurate performance a team has given, missing just one. And speaking to just missing one question, I talked to Rocha after the match, and he said if Nost and him had swapped the 2 and 3-pointer, they would have had a perfect match. Nost knew his question, even though Rocha knew his, but Rocha knew the 3-pointer as well. So had they flopped, they would have had a perfect match. And it is what it is. But they would not have gotten 35 points and tied the record. But if you're going to be playing top 10, listen to the top 10 show, see what they're talking about, so you know what not to pick.
Yeah,
So there
don't
you go.
pick that. Yeah. They just did it last week.
Exactly.
Don't do it.
Covered 50 movies in that genre, so probably don't go after that one.
I feel like Rocha's going to come after us now for saying that. We're
Right.
like, hey, listen to top 10 so that you can give them all their weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you get their ratings, but now you know their weakness. So.
I love that. That tickled me, Frank. I don't know why. Let's get real quick. There's an interesting little stinger on this particular episode of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. And before we get to that, I want to shout out to somebody who did a very great job in this match. A handsome son of a bitch did the post-match interviews.
Jesus. There we go.
I think you know what? Chris Clark is running the boards. Run a little bit of footage. Who was that? Yeah, that's right. He's a handsome son of a gun, Frank. What did you think of these post-match interviews? Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, it's pretty run of the mill. Just guy with the microphone talking to another guy. Yeah, it was. No. I thought you were really good. I thought you were great.
Put me over, Frank. Put me over. Damn it.
Yeah, I liked your suit jacket. That was very nice.
That's right.
It was you got some nice style there. So
that's right.
No, I thought, and look, I want to talk. This JTE guy. I don't know what he has against the Rundown. I want to have it out with JTE finally, because when I was there for Collision last year, Christian was like, "Oh, hey, this is Frank from the Rundown. You give him a couple minutes. Talk the Rundown." And I go, "Nah, just burns me." Just walked away. And then when he's leaving, after he crashes top 10's interview, and what does he say? He doesn't like our show. Our show is horrible.
Show sucks.
Come on.
Your show sucks.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on, JT.
Yeah,
Come on.
But anything, though, in all seriousness, anything stand out content-wise, anything that Top 10 said that stood out to you?
I just think, well, I mean, we got more communism talk, it's always fun to hear. I can never brush up enough on my communism history. So I love going back to junior year history class. So that's always fun.
Welcome to contemporary American history.
Yeah.
What about you, Patrick? Anything stand out from that post-match interview?
Well, the thing for top that was essentially the fact that Jim really is considering that singles league. And I think that would be a really great move for him, because I think that him being in the singles league will give him more time in the league itself. Maybe it'll make him tighten up on the game, and it can rub off on Eric. I mean, it wouldn't even be bad to see Eric into the singles league. But the other thing that stands out to me on top of that is who keeps letting these guys from the Lions Den back into the studio? I don't understand. JTE's talking shit about this show and pushing people around and interrupting interviews. I don't get it. We got to get better security in there.
No, that's for damn sure. And one thing about Eric, I could maybe, hey, try your luck at Inner Geekdom.
Oh, that would be a great idea. I'd like to see Eric in Inner Geekdom. I think he'd crush it.
Yeah, I think that's a phenomenal idea, Frank, and Eric should definitely do that. Now, I will say in the top that post-match interview, they did a couple things that they said to me did stand out. They wouldn't, had they known, they would have gone back and changed biopics. They definitely would have said, my bad. They realized the mistake they made. Also, Eric Goldman, I know. Also, Eric Goldman said that he wishes he would have challenged. So they definitely saw the error of their ways. And Jim Vejvoda in singles, I would like to see it. I would like to see Eric Goldman in Inner Geekdom. And right now, I'm looking into the camera. I'm looking directly into the camera. I was looking over the camera.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm looking directly into it.
Okay.
JTE, I'm talking to you. I know you say this show sucks, but you listen every week. All right? I've said that you're one of the greatest team players of all time. But I'll tell you right now, me and my boy Frank Janisch versus you, your teammate. I don't care who. You can pick anyone out of the Lions Den. I don't care who it is. We're going to do it. A team basketball match. We're going to play the horse. You and I, you and me, we're going to school you, son. Get some, want some, sucker. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Do you play basketball? I don't. You play basketball?
I can hoop. I can hoop a little bit.
Yeah, I can rebound. I can box out.
I feel like we can beat Snyder and JTE or JTE and Knapsack.
Yeah,
JTE.
I'm going to be standing on the sideline holding the camera because I'm got to make sure all Schmoedown fans see this go down.
Dang, what's up, man? What's up?
Yeah.
You got them handles, man? No?
Those Gucci hands? Get those Gucci hands dirty?
Yeah, you want to get them dirty? You want to mess up your manicure, man? Come on. Let's do it. Let's do it by it's supposed to be done. Make them pay, my son. Make them say, "Rundown boys, I don't want none. I've had enough." Let's move on. Let's talk about the post-match stinger that we got here. Something very interesting. Frank, take it away.
What was the stinger?
You're a buffoon.
Yeah, with Whitney Seibold and John Schnepp. They're going back and forth with their horror trivia. And I loved Whitney in this. He's like, "Oh, you know about this? Oh, well, yeah. Okay, right. Well, how about, oh, yeah, okay, that's good, too. But what about, I love the exchange that was going on between both of them. And then the reveal. Can I talk about the reveal, Brad? I mean, people know the reveal.
Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah.
So Bruce Campbell, man, comes out from behind the curtain. God, that man is a living legend. And now we're going to have an Ash versus Evil Dead celebrity match with, you got cast members coming in to team up with Whitney and John Schnepp. So I cannot wait to see how this match goes. I mean, you got Dana DiLorenzo and Ray Santiago. They're going to be there. I believe Bruce is going to be partaking some way. It's not
I would love to see
been
Bruce Campbell
revealed.
on commentary. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, oh yeah. I would like to see that as well. That'd be pretty fun. We come up with a chainsaw.
Can you come out with the chainsaw? I would like that too. Interesting. Didn't we just have an Ash vs. Evil Dead question, or is that later? Is that in another match? I know we just had one recently.
We definitely have an Evil Dead question that is in the next match.
It's in the next match. I knew it was coming up somewhere.
That's right, yeah.
I will say Bruce Campbell, big fan of Bruce Campbell. Not so much of Ash vs. Evil Dead. I like his cameo.
Okay, you're crossing a line now.
It means he hasn't seen it?
No. I'm not saying not so much a fan of Ash vs. Evil Dead. I'm saying I like him in other stuff more.
How dare you? Number one.
How dare you? Did I make a mistake? Did I not realize my audience? Did I not read the crowd right? I like Bruce Campbell. I like him. There's a show that was on USA Network called Burn Notice that he was in that I enjoyed quite a bit, a lot.
You and the other people, that's fine.
His cameos in the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, because there's something else about a cameo in Sam Raimi Spider-Mans. So I like Bruce. I'm just saying I like Bruce Campbell. Don't eat my head off. All right. Don't chop it off with a chainsaw.
I get to share a last name with maybe one of the greatest living actors of all time. You guys, okay?
Is there a relation that you don't know about? Maybe possibly?
I hope so. I hope he's my long lost uncle. That would be the greatest thing ever. Yeah. I've gotten to meet him on more than one occasion. He is one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life, and I am super excited for this because this is Bruce Campbell coming on the Schmoedown. What is not to love about that?
I think this is like the biggest get yet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This is but this is something like I didn't know that I was going to be so excited for. I guess that was kind of my point. It's like, I like Bruce Campbell. He's not somebody who's always at the forefront of my mind, but when he came out and there was the reveal, I was like, oh man, I popped big. I was like, man, this is going to be pretty sweet. Patrick, you want to say something else?
I was going to say, I just hope that also, and I know this is going to sound like cheesy, but I hope this also pushes people who maybe aren't watching Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Tune into Ash vs. Evil Dead, because that show is one of the most well-written and fun shows on television right now, and we don't get a lot of really great horror shows a lot of times outside of a few things. Sometimes, like right now on Sci-Fi Channel 0 is fucking awesome, but Ash vs. Evil Dead, amazing, and I really hope that people actually tune into it now because we deserve it. And if he comes out with an Ashy Slashy doll on his hand, it is going to be maybe the greatest Schmoedown of all time.
It has all the makings of an incredible celebrity match, our first celebrity match of the year in the season 5 of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. Before we wrap this whole match up, Frank, I'm throwing to you. Fan reactions. We asked on our official Twitter account, Schmoedown RD. We wanted to hear from you. What were some of your reactions to this top 10 versus top that match? Frank, do you have a couple that you want to read off to us right now?
Yeah, so I got Eric Frederick here at EricGR81. He says about the match, wasn't sure how this one was going to go till I saw how laser-focused Roca was and Nost brought his A-game. Then those wheel choices kept it interesting. Could have easily ended up being a blowout. Hats off to both teams for a great match. Kevin Tucker at Andre Tucker Kev says, after this match, no one will call Nost Pizza Guy again. And then Jimmy Neeson says, Top That really blew it with that biopics choice. They definitely could have won if they were smarter with their choice, but Roca and Nost were both locked in this match. And then let's see what else we got here. Let's say Bryan Stevens, top 10 basically top that. They showed why they want them belts back. Hashtag Outlaw Nation. Hashtag Four Horsemen. And then one more. Let's see.
Uno Mas.
Kristen Smith from Take 3, she says, Top 10 is slowly getting all the records, and they will soon get all the belts. Nost played his best game ever, and Roca was more focused than I've ever seen him. The Patriots better watch out, because Top 10 is coming for them.
Well, there you go. We love hearing from you, the Schmoevillians out there. After every single match, go over to Twitter at SchmoedownRD. Send us your fan reaction, and they will get read here on the Schmoedown Rundown. Now, before we get into this next match, Frank had a stroke of genius. To quote the movie Hook, lightning just struck my brain. Frank, we're going to do something very special here. Let's set it up here. What are we doing?
Yeah,
I think they're going to love this. And by the way, if anyone's wondering what's wrong with Brad Gilmore on this episode, I had like this 24-ounce Red Bull today because I got no sleep last night, and it's all hitting me right now.
Yeah, I can definitely tell. So what happened after the Top 10 Top That match, if you're a member of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown Facebook group, you may have seen a certain exchange go down between a certain father and son. You might have seen it, but we thought it might be more fun than to just read it to ourselves. We're going to reenact this, if you will, between myself and Brad. Brad, I believe, will be playing the role of the one and only John the Outlaw Roca.
Yes.
And then I will be playing John Roca's son, Andrew Guy. And Patrick's going to help fill in the gaps when necessary. So
he's going to do the stage direction a little bit. I want to say that I am a great impressionist, but I only know one impression, and that's the Macho Man Randy Savage. And I'm going to read John Roca as Macho Man Randy Savage. I'm just putting that out there now.
All right.
This should be interesting. We're trying something new out. Patrick Clark, why don't you start us off here? Read the originating post, and then Frank and I shall reenact.
Who the fuck is Patrick Clark?
I'm so sorry. Why do I? So okay, let's start again. I'm looking at his name too, which is funny. Okay, ready? 3, 2. Patrick Campbell, why don't you take us away? Why don't you start off with the originating post, and then we will run this down. Once again, Frank is Andrew Guy. I am John Roca with the ghost of Macho Man Randy Savage. Let's do this.
I know it's very minor, but we need better smack talk than who is that? Never heard of him. What do you guys think?
Top Dat's attempt at smack talk was MTS material circa 2008, just like their haircuts. And I legitimately don't know who they are. Everyone knows Top 10. It's the team with my dad on it.
From now on, he should only be referred to as Andrew's dad.
Nah, you got it wrong. I beat his ass. I'm his daddy, period. End of discussion.
No, you lost just like we did, and I actually beat your ass, literally. Stop embarrassing yourself.
Hey, you're really gonna try to say a stage tackle means anything? A stage tackle? Come on, you milked that long enough, Get in the Schmoedown ring and show us what you got, son, Anyone can talk, not anyone can win matches and win the belt,
There it is.
That is the most beautiful thing that's going to be on the internet all weekend, you guys.
Wow. Brad, you were killing me, dude.
Okay, well, let's move on. Let's talk about our next match.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our next match. We had our singles match between something that was we heard about this kind of, or we speculated on this in our spectacular coverage, Frank Janisch. We saw the Professor Lon Harris messing with Cody Hall quite a bit. And we were saying, there's little cut scenes, these little 5-second scenes of him screwing with him, 15-second scenes of him screwing with him. And we're like, well, this has to lead to a match. And then we got the match. Lon Harris versus Cody Hall. Frank, what was your expectations of this match?
My expectations were that Lon Harris was going to comfortably cruise his way to a victory, possibly a TKO. And that's what I was expecting. I think Cody was going to surprise a few people here and there with some answers, but it wasn't going to amount to anything because in the end, Lon was going to get the end via TKO. That was my prediction and my feeling about this match.
What about you, Patrick? What were your expectations of this going into it?
I love Cody Hall. Cody Hall knows a little bit about movies, and I really wanted to see him show up, especially because Lon was pushing him around. I mean, what else were we going to want from this? Come on. I wanted Cody to show up and put Lon in his place.
I'm going to be honest. I thought this was like a, think about The Longest Yard. If we're talking about movies, what did the prison guard say? What was Paul Wrecking Crew's, what was his suggestion to the warden? Your prison guards need a tune-up game. This is just what I thought going in. Let's throw you in there with a tomato can, beat up on him. Yeah, I'm serious. Beat up on him, get a good win, and then move right along. And that's honestly what my expectation was going to this. I thought this was going to be a slaughter. And I was so happy to be proven wrong. The promos, Frank, we saw the Professor Lon Harris looking very professory. And we saw Cody Hall kind of, just talking about what's going on. What happened here? What are your thoughts on the promos?
By the way, good word, professory. I didn't realize, that's a very
it's
high
SAT
level
word.
Yeah,
If this was word with friends, that's like a 30-point word right there.
Yeah. These,
There's
these,
a Z.
yeah,
Like Rundown Boys with a Z. Ooh, brother.
These, Cody's coming in. He's like, I'm not really good. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know how I got roped into this. Lon pestering me, so I was like, all right, fine. I caved. Gonna get a match, but Lon, he for some reason thinks that he wanted to go after Cody because he sees untapped potential, and Lon wants to bring another level of trivia to the Schmoedown, a higher I don't mean, does anyone? I don't want to spoil it because we'll get into what he said to Mark Ellis, but he's going to bring a different kind of vocabulary to the Schmoedown. I'll say that. So very interesting promos. Cody is like, I'll be shocked if I can answer 2 questions, and Lon's like, I'm here to enhance and further the league and help Cody along. So it was very interesting. And by the way, very different promos we've seen in the past. We've never seen this kind of back and forth.
Yeah, that is an interesting point. I didn't realize it until you started kind of laying it out there. I love by the way, once again, this is another solid week of production from the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. It looks this is the best the show has ever looked. It's the best sounding, it's the best looking, it's the best editing, it's the best graphics, it's the best competition so far. It has been phenomenal. Season 5 off to a fire start. Patrick, anything stand out to you in the promos?
I think it was the fact that Cody was so honest, being, I don't know why I'm here. This guy basically pushed me around, and now I'm here. And if I even answer 4 questions correctly, it's going to basically be us putting people on the moon. Like, it's that great.
Right. Yeah.
And, plug in the wangers there at the end. But Lon, I love Lon. He cracks me up because there's a bit of condensation, just being kind of condescending without being a jerk. Like, I love the way he presents himself. It's a little bit of a heel, but he's still not really. And it just kind of adds a little bit of flair, and I like that a lot.
He kind of reminds me of Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. He says he kind of gives these backhand compliments. Like, he really believes what he's saying, and like, I'm trying to help you. Like, you don't understand. I think it kind of, am I wrong? Am I
of all places you win. I see what you're saying, but of all places to pull from, that's where you pulled from.
Frank tends to go for the low-hanging fruit. That's kind of a signature of him.
I know.
But anyway, there you go, Frank. Do it. Yeah, I like your little shimmy there, your little giddy shuffle. I like the promos too. I like Lon Harris, man. So my girlfriend Farrah had watched a few Schmoedown matches, on YouTube or whatnot. But that was we went to the taping together, and as soon as Lon Harris made his entrance, she goes, "I like this guy." And she was rooting. She was rooting for Lon Harris the entire time. She was rooting against Cody Hall. She was like, I kind of want him to win. And I'm like, hey man, this is what's great about the Schmoedown. You for some reason certain characters connect with you. You have no idea why. And for her, it was Lon Harris, and I like Lon Harris. I think he plays his gimmick well, which gets me to the entrances. He comes out in his entrance. Let's just talk about it. He had syllabi.
A syllabus. I mean,
I can't believe he brought a syllabus to the Schmoedown.
I mean, genius. I mean, it was like, it was first day of class for Cody and the rest of us, apparently. And if you haven't seen the rest of the syllabus, Lon did tweet it out. So if you go to his Twitter, you can find the rest of the syllabus. I
believe it's just at Lon Harris.
I believe you're correct.
At
sir.
Lon's, LONS.
Yes. He sneaks that S in there. You want to talk about Space Jam? I mean, secret stuff.
Everybody get up.
Maybe the greatest entrance for someone in a long time. Like, he came out cool, calm, collected, came out with Cobster. Oh, it was great. And with that music, I mean, nostalgia for the 90s kids.
Also, we can't pass up Lon's entrance music. Dangerous Minds, amazing. His professor comes out of the Dangerous Minds. I mean, come on. That had me rolling when he came out to that music.
But I was, Cody won me over. My expectation, I found myself rooting for Cody Hall when he made that Space Jam entrance. I don't care. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I don't care who knows it. I'm a product of the 90s, of the early 1990s. And I love me some Space Jam and some Michael Jordan. Let's just talk about it. Let's get into the match here already. Let's not waste any more time. As I pull up my notes, let's talk about it. Round number 1, this was incredible. Cody Hall goes perfect in round number 1, hitting his bonus 9-5. Cody Hall has a 4-point advantage in round 1. Frank, we were losing our minds.
Yeah. There's a couple. This whole entire first round, everyone was losing their mind. And one of the reasons I definitely wanted to have Patrick on the show is because all three of us were at these matches together, so it'd be really cool to cover them on the show together. But also, what's fun is that we can go back and remember the atmosphere in that room, especially for the first round, let alone the whole match. But that first round, that energy, that atmosphere, unbelievable. I've been to that studio for a handful of matches. I've been there for Collision. I haven't been there for Free For All or Spectacular. But some other matches, team matches, I was there for the god-awful top 10 showing against the Patriots, the 4th of July match. Whew, that was like a funeral. But this atmosphere was electric. It was just so much fun. It felt like I was really at a sporting event. And I know, this we keep saying that this league is a sport, and it is. But when you get that kind of atmosphere, and I think this atmosphere can transfer over to the live setting, which is I'm really excited about to see that atmosphere. When you get this atmosphere with just, I don't know, it was like 20-something people, 30 people, whatever it was in that room, we're all going nuts for Cody. I can't begin to describe how awesome every time he got a question right, especially when he got the question, was it the sixth question right, and Lon got it wrong. Copster goes running out there. I mean, it's like mayhem in that place. Guys, what did you guys think of that, the atmosphere?
Oh man, Patrick,
oh my
go.
God. This may as well have just been a championship match, you guys. Like, that was the energy in that room. And I mean, I've been there for the championship matches, and I've been there to see when people get excited, but this is what we are here for. And you can feel it. I rewatched the match today, and you can feel it in the video, just seeing how excited we were to see Cody. Like, he crushed 9 questions, a perfect round plus the bonus. And that, like, he had a 4-point lead going into the second round. And it was really incredible to watch, because not only was he excited, because every time he'd get one right, he was so surprised by it. And that was what made it so funny. And that made the Predator one especially so perfect.
Yes.
Because he's like, guys, I was born in the 90s. I don't know, Predator. And just the moment that we all went, yeah! And he was just all,
oh, my
what?
gosh.
And just so excited. That was the atmosphere of the whole thing. And it was just so exciting to watch. And, Lon showed he has some holes, but it was never detrimental either. And I think that's what was so important, because even at where he was missing the ones he did, he still had a good showing. And you got to give him that.
But you're right. I mean, he kind of exposed family films, rom-coms, and I can forgive someone on a release date, but I mean, it's Iron Man, so I would thought he would have gotten that one. But so those aren't like terribly, big problems that he's gonna have to face a lot in the rest of the season. But I mean, you still should brush up on some of that stuff. But
Oh yeah.
I don't think it. I know people might say, well, maybe Lon's not as good as we think. I just think sometimes you get a bad run of questions. So a couple categories that just aren't in your way. And let's not forget Cody Hall. I think did he guess like twice in this round? I think it was,
I think 3 times.
There was the Julia Roberts answer,
that one, yeah.
right? There was the Predator answer, and there was another one, wasn't there?
Yeah,
That
there's
it?
one more. I'm pretty sure. Maybe
I can't
it was
think
just
of it.
2, but it felt like 3 at least.
It felt like he was guessing on them all. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's what it kind of felt like. He was like, this,
Yeah.
but it was incredible.
Did he guess on the first one, the ants and the Bug's Life? I don't know, because it's 50-50 shot. I guess I don't know if he guessed on that one, but
I mean, I think most of us guessed on that one, and even in
Yeah.
the crowd.
oh, but that brings up something interesting. We don't get a lot of 50-50 questions in the Schmoedown. There's only been maybe
No, we
a
don't.
handful throughout the entire history. I mean, it's more of a 2014 kind of thing, and it hasn't really happened in the Collider era. So it was interesting that we got a 50-50 question. It's the first round, so it's fine with me. It was in any other round to be, if it was especially in the third round, I'd be like, what the hell's going on? But it's a first round, first question. But I thought it was interesting that we got a 50-50 kind of question. I don't know what you guys thought about that.
It was. Go ahead, Patrick.
Oh, I was gonna say I was a little surprised because it doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
And so it kind of threw me, especially because it was so early on and we hadn't had one in a while that I could think of. And I was like, oh, damn. And it makes you stop to really have to think. And again, Cody was a 90s kid, but it was 96 when it came out, so he wasn't that old. So having to go back and trying to figure it out from there is very interesting, for him, for that perspective.
Man, Ants came out in 96.
Yeah.
There's a point in this first round where a chant started. You guys remember the chant of overrated?
Cody.
No.
That one.
Oh, yeah,
Overrated.
the
That's right.
overrated.
The overrated one.
Yeah.
That one, I think it went on longer than the cut that we saw. I feel like it did, at least, because I remember feeling kind of bad chanting that, because Lon's up there, and Lon's a good guy, and he's playing his part. But I'm like, at the same time, it's like, is that gonna get to him? Like, do people really think that we're really going after him? I mean, he was all in the spirit of the game. And by the way, we were just tweeted at by Miss Movies herself, Bryan Chandler. She wanted it to be known that she did in fact start the overrated chant. So there you go.
I have to be honest. I actually went up to Lon after the match, and I apologized. I was like, I hope like, it's all fun and games. I mean, he does know that, but I did genuinely feel a little bad because Lon's a good dude. And here we are, like, because we all like Cody so much that we were just giving Lon so much shit. I mean, when he came out, I don't know if you can hear it. I'm like, pick on someone your own size. Like, really just, like, leave Cody alone.
Yeah.
I may have partaken in the chant. I don't remember. It was
I definitely did.
We all did.
That whole audience was, and that was the most surprising thing, was we're all just piling it on the line, because now he's missed like 3 questions in a row, and it's just like, oh boy, here. And then I gotta tell you, watching Christian
was so much fun,
losing his mind about what was happening right in front of us. And
that was something that I picked up on. Not to cut you off. That was something I picked up on in the taping, that, like, especially in that match, it showed, like, Christian's passion was, I mean, if y'all could, I wish there was a Christian cam during that match, and you would see his absolute passion for this thing. It was really awesome to see. But fantastic round number 1 by Cody Hall. A perfect round 1, and he hit the bonus. Incredible. Let's get on to round 2. Round 2 ends a little bit differently, though. Cody Hall had a 4-point advantage going into round number 2. He leaves with a 0-point advantage. Lon Harris is able to tie it up 10-10. Cody spins first. He gets mixed bag, and he says, I don't want that. So he spins again and gets opponent's choice. So the man who specializes in German expressionistic bullshit, he decides to go with classics, which is definitely one of his strong suits. Cody Hall, kid of the 90s, not going to do so well when it comes to Casablanca and stuff like that, right? So let's talk about it. Cody Hall only gets, what does he get? 1, right? Yeah. On a multiple choice, no less, right? Not a good showing at all. Kind of a big breakdown, but no surprise. I mean, when that was selected by Lon Harris, it was not a shocker that Cody Hall did not do good.
No, and I feel like Oh, sorry, Frank. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it was like, well, at least that first round was fun. At least that first round was fun. Let's go ahead, Pat.
Oh, I was gonna say it didn't surprise me that Lon went that way, because he knew at that point he had the upper hand, and he knew that he could take Cody down with him, and he'd get some extra points while he was at it to catch up, and then build upon it. Depending on what he landed on, and it was kind of a bummer, because that first round was so fun to see Cody just kind of shut down, essentially. I mean, but he tried, and I give him that. I mean, he even towards the end, he goes, "You're just going to be shocked, but I'm going to be doing multiple choice again," because he really he had no other thing to do. He really showed a lot of weakness there, but it was a bummer. But it was still a good match, but Lon did the right thing. I mean, that was a perfect move for him to really get the upper hand in the match.
Hey, man, he's not here to make friends. He's here to school them. He's here to teach him something. Let's talk about Lon Harris. Lon Harris spins coming of age first. He respins and gets family films, kind of in the same, vein there a little bit. But family films, Frank, not a particular strong suit of Lon Harris, but he did rather well in the round, getting 5 points.
Yeah, he got 1 off the steal from Cody.
That's right.
But yeah, real quick before we jump on the Lon's category, I was surprised that he didn't clean up on the other two questions he missed that Cody missed. I was surprised. I was like, this is supposed to be, I guess, in your wheelhouse, right? Yeah. You know, something that you're a little bit better at. Also, he was given the benefit of having to pick from multiple choice, so the fact that he only went 1 of 3 on those steals, a little kind of concerning. But again, you know, it's his second match, so okay, I want to see some more. But going to his category of family films, I mean, we saw him stumble in the first round with that, and then to get a whole category for the second round and navigate it the way he did, going multiple choice 3 times, successfully answering 2 of those 3, and then finally getting a full 2 points on his last question to tie it up, no less. When in fact he probably should have came out with a lead, but you know, so it just made this match even more interesting. I thought Cody Hall was done for in that second round once he went to classics, but Lon Harris inadvertently still made this a match when he probably could have put a bow on it at the end of this round.
Patrick, your thoughts about Lon Harris and family films?
Number one, I can't believe that he didn't know Wendy Peppercorn off the top of his head. I mean, how many people don't know that?
My darling lover.
Come
girl.
on, man. Come on. But yeah, I think that Frank nailed it. It was a little surprising because we saw him falter with it in the first round, and this shows a major weakness for Lon. And I thought that was really interesting because for someone who prides himself on German, experimental films and everything else, you can't just cut out the other things. I mean, say what you will, D2 The Mighty Ducks is a pretty important part of a lot of people's childhoods, and that you need
classic.
to know it. Yeah, exactly. And that's my point. I mean,
that should have been in classics. What are we talking about here? Going into round number 3, spoiler alert here, Lon Harris, the professor, gets it might not be an A+, but it was a B- and beats Cody Hall 16-15. Let's go through these a little bit. Cody Hall, his 2-pointer was War. It was the Denzel Washington film Glory, of course. Lon Harris goes over to horror for his 2-pointer. They both get them right. Cody Hall gets comic book movies. A good sign for Cody Hall. He hits it. Then we go to Lon Harris, Angelina Jolie films. What Angelina Jolie film did she win the Academy Award for? Girl Interrupted. We go on to the 5-pointer for Cody Hall, and it's Oscar movies. Frank, when Ken Knapsack said Oscar movies, you knew what the end of this play was going to be, didn't you?
Yeah. Right. He wasn't going to hit this one, and he knew it too. And I think fair to say,
the room deflated. The room deflated when the Oscars
man.
were said. We're all like, damn it, man.
Yeah, he got the first 5 points in that round, a 2 and 3-pointer. Like, okay, this could actually come down to the wire, and it's just not going to be an 0 for 3 effort by Cody here. And he made it interesting, and then it goes over to Lon. So,
and then Patrick, when it went over to Lon, he gets 1980s films. Did you think he was going to hit his question?
To be honest, yeah. I actually kind of did. I mean, 1980s films seems right in about the time frame that he was probably growing up, a lot like us in the 90s. So I kind of gave him the benefit that maybe that he would hit it. And I thought that was going to be the end right there. It just made a lot of sense. I was like, at least if we're going to go out, we're going to go out on the last question like this. And I mean, Lon made a pretty good performance for himself, and I thought he'd hit it.
And what happened, Frank?
Oh, he missed. He missed. He said Mel Brooks. I think that was his answer, and he seemed kind of sure of it. It seemed like, but nonetheless, that was not the answer. And we go
Dom DeLuise, right? I believe Dom DeLuise was the correct answer. Yeah.
And then we go to overtime.
Sudden death.
And also, by the way, I'm kind of nostalgic to that creepy sudden death sound we used to get. Sudden death, I kind of wish. Can we bring that back? I kind of missed it. But overtime. If someone had told you Cody Hall and Lon Harris are going to go to overtime.
Yeah, not believing that one. Lon Harris gets the victory, 16-15 in sudden death with Cody Hall on the very first question. Cody Hall, no guess. Lon Harris gets it. A valiant effort by young Mr. Hall, but he comes up short. Patrick, any thoughts about the ending and the closing of this highly dramatic contest?
Oh yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on the fact that Lon comes out here as the professor and he wants to school Cody Hall, and it's a little ironic that Cody lost on a question that was about a movie that most of us grew up watching in school. So that's what kind of made me laugh. 1776 was a movie, at least for me, that a lot of the schooling and stuff when I was growing up that we were showed, because they were like, well, we want to teach you about history, but you're all kids and you probably won't sit through an actual like retelling. So it's a musical. You might actually watch it. So it surprised me a little bit that Cody faltered there, because I thought it might go at least a few questions, and, Lon actually ended up schooling him.
Yeah, it's what happens, man. 1776. That's a movie release date there for you that you got to remember. Frank Janisch, why don't you look it up? Let's throw to our fan reactions here on this match, the singles match. Cody Hall, who by the way shares a name with Razor Ramon's son, whose name is also Cody Hall, who wrestles in New Japan. That's off topic. Go to it. What are some of our fan reactions here?
Yeah, so we're looking at here. Albert Radma. I'm sorry I said your name wrong, but I know he does some fan reaction to the Schmoedown matches, which is great. He says, this match was more intense than I expected it to be. I was rooting for Tom Holland since the beginning, and that loss surprisingly broke my heart. Then we got Evan DeGraff from Take 3. He tweets, we need more Spidey. He was amazing, and I think will be the next Josh McCouga-esque character we see. We got Jack D. Mannheim. He says, Schmoedown fact-checked. He's tweeting at Mark Ellis here. Let's see what he's... A mulligan is actually a golf reference? Not that thing that you said, had the professor not been busy with another student, he probably would have helped you out on that one. Well done today, Lons. And then we got another one here from the name of Jexy, Jexy at JexyMG. Interesting. He says, Cody is a legit player in this league, but with large weaknesses and the expected ones for his age. Lon makes me want more categories about film, as he calls it. I would like to see a classical match.
Oh, well, hey, there's an interesting proposition there. A classical match. I don't know if I would really like to watch it just because I wouldn't know anything about it. But it could be something to look at down the way.
I want to read one more tweet here because it's going to kind of roll into something I want to talk about Cody real quick. Jedi DMF, he says, great match. Love the crowd cheering on Cody. Lon was good, and Cody came to play. Now I'm curious, who's in the perfect round club? Well, I actually do know that for you. And Cody Hall joins 8 other players who have had perfect first rounds. 8 other players. That's Bibiani, Franco, Dan Murrell, Bibiani twice, in fact, has done it 3 times. Rachel Cushing has done it twice. Lon Harris did it. But Cody Hall, he's only the 4th different player to get all 8 and the bonus. So he's in rarefied air in terms of perfect first rounds and the bonus.
Oh, well, look at that. Cody
That's
Hall
so incredible.
making history. No one saw it coming. I didn't see it coming. You didn't see it coming. Patrick didn't see it coming. Chris Clark, who's on the boards, he did not see it coming. It was miraculous by Cody Hall. What? I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thought? Well, let's get into it. This transitions for me, because for me, Cody Hall absolutely won the week. There's no way that you can come in here, have expectations at 0, overdo anything that we could have predicted, and become one of 4 players to do a perfect round and hit their bonus. That's why, for me, Cody Hall wins the week. Let's go to you, Frank Janisch.
All right, so this little unorthodox, but my pick is going to be the moment when Copster and Cody Hall embrace at the desk, and Copster flicks off Lon Harris. They're hugging. Everyone's going nuts. That moment right there, Copster, Cody Hall, they won the week for me.
Yes, they definitely did. An interesting interaction between Lon Harris and Cody Hall in the post-match, wouldn't you say, Patrick?
Yeah, to say the least. It looks like they're forming their own sort of alliance, which I think will be very interesting to see play out. And you could almost see the storylines Christian was coming up with in his head with Cody excelling the way he did. I could just see, he was like, what am I going to do with this kid? Because now I have to bring him back. And the fans are already clamoring for
Yeah.
it. I mean, look at it. Look at the reactions already to this match.
We love Tom Holland, but Patrick, who won the week for you?
All right. I mean, I'm with you. I think I have to give it to Cody because Cody showed up, entered history-making books for the Schmoedown. I mean, entering air that only three other people other than him have had. That's amazing. And he was so excited to do what he did. He made it all the way to sudden death, something that no one saw coming. I mean, this was the perfect way to start the year with a singles match like this. It was a match that most people, like you said, you thought it was going to be a slaughter.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was completely the opposite of that. And it was really like a breath of fresh air to see Cody come out that way. So I'm giving it to Cody.
Yeah, wow, that's no one would have predicted that one too. That Cody Hall in
Right.
the first one-on-one match of the season would be getting all of our getting our winning of the week, I should say, especially with that incredible team match that happened earlier. Let's go on, and before we put a bow on this bad boy, let's talk about a couple of the matches that we're going to see next week. Frank Janisch, run them down for us.
All right, so next week we got an Inner Geekdom Fatal 5-Way match between Adam Klavick, Coy Jandreau, Mike Carlson, Mark Donica, Keaton Marchi. Some of these people I'm not familiar with yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, we have the celebrity match that's going to be happening on Thursday, February 15th, and then the day after that, we are getting a singles league doubleheader. The undercard to that will be Dorian Parks versus eBay. And then the main event for that video will be Jeff Snyder versus Mark Ellis.
Wow, man. Packed card. I'm looking forward to Jeff Snyder. Mark Ellis. Interesting to see the first time we're going to see a Patriot one-on-one match. We saw JTE in that triple threat match. Patriots so far haven't played that team match, but you got to think that this might not work out so well for them, taking these time to do singles when you got top 10 right around the corner. Before we get out of here, Patrick, anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Guys, I really want to plug the Patreon again. Number one, just remember the Schmoedown Patreon is so important right now to this show and to really continue pushing it forward. So really, I'm sure the link will be on the bottom of this video or in the podcast links. Head to the Schmoedown Patreon. Give it a look. Even if you want to just toss it $1, do it. It's very well worth it, and you guys will be surprised just how far it could take the show. Otherwise, just find me on Twitter at PJ_Campbell. You can find me on Facebook at Patrick Campbell _PJ, and our podcast, Real Film Chatter, REEL Film Chatter on Podbean and iTunes.
Frank Janisch, before we get out of here, what you got, man?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram at FrankieJ29. And also, I'll say for you, Brad, the show now has an Instagram page at Schmoedown Rundown, Schmoedown RD. Same thing as our Twitter handle. So go check it out. There's some pictures up there you can take a look at and see if that suits whatever Schmoedown needs that need to be fulfilled or whatever. I don't know. Just
There you go, Frank. Yeah. What a great sell job that was.
Yeah.
Go follow us on Instagram, on Twitter at SchmoedownRD. You can follow me on all social media at Brad Gilmore. Make sure you check out my radio show with Booker T. It's a podcast too. Heated Conversations with Booker T and Brad Gilmore. More stuff to announce here very, very soon. But until next week, I am Brad Gilmore. He's Frank Janisch. Patrick Campbell. We got Chris Clark on the board. You got to thank him. This is the Schmoedown Rundown. We'll see you next week.